Welcome to episode 5 of the Cultural Connect podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Nales, and I got a special guest with me today. I got Chris Aguado from Los Angeles area. He's a personal trainer. And a funny story, I met Chris through Instagram. Since the quarantine has happened, I've started just trying to promote myself as much as possible and personal brand myself as much as possible. So I started putting out these little tips and strategies and sponsoring them on Instagram. And that's how I came across Chris. And Chris has a really cool brand, and we started working together on ways that he can develop his personal brand. And I'm going to let him do an intro. So Chris, just give us a background of where you're from, how you got into fitness, and what do you do?
So basically, I'm from Los Angeles, California, the San Fernando Valley to be exact. It's like a small little, they call it a suburb right outside of the actual inner city. Realistically, man, I've just been an athlete my whole life, man. I've been playing sports since I was about 5. Everything from basketball to, soccer to football to track, and ended up playing in collegiate ball, a little bit professional arena and Canadian. And then from there, in 2015, when I kind of, said it's not the commitment's not there, the work ain't there. So from that moment, I was like, okay, what is my calling? From day one, I've always liked to help people. I like to help people, better their lives. So, what I did was, okay, what am I good at? And all I ever known was really just sports. So I found a way to help, underprivileged youth, and started off helping out the kids first. And then from there, just took off, man, to helping professional athletes, collegiate athletes, high school. So,
That's really dope. See, now it's funny, when I first started working with you, like I have more of a background in music, right? So going and doing things with like small businesses. I mean, I've done marketing with other brands that were outside of music, but it's always been aligned like with the music industry or adjacent to the music industry. But I think that's where we kind of have like something in common where, when I started out, I was a producer. And so once I realized like, you know what, I can't just keep churning out beats every single day and just selling them to people. And I think that I'm more interested in business side and helping people and taking someone who has a craft and really like pushing them towards being their best possible self. And that's where I started to push it. So that's where I found like the little, like, a connection that we had in both of our brands moving forward. Now, you cut out a little bit at the start. It said that you were, go over again, just you said you played overseas internationally, right?
Yes, Canadian and then arena football. Yes, sir.
Got you. What team did you play for arena football?
Arena football, I played for the Sioux Falls Storm.
Got you. Have you ever heard of Philadelphia Soul?
Man, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's where I got my first start in public relations, actually. Right out of college, I was doing PR for the Philadelphia Soul.
Man, it's funny because my boy played for the Philadelphia Soul.
Really?
Yeah, DJ Stevens.
Yeah. This was back in, I think it was like 2013, 2012. And it was a funny story. I was just out of college, right? And so I was working like right under the general manager. And the general manager for the Philadelphia Soul, he was like the top guy in like the AFL. Like he was like the guy that everybody wanted to work with. So he was like, listen, we need you. You're going to be working between Philadelphia and you're going to be working between the practice facility, which is like in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, which is super far, like considering I was living in the suburbs up like on top of Philadelphia pretty much. So he's like, all right, I need you to be here at this time, here at this time, here at this time, and then here like at this time as well. And it's like all over the place. I was getting a little bit frustrated. And I said, here, I'll tell you what, I'll stay in New Jersey. I'll do the New Jersey thing and we'll keep it at that, right? And then he gave me like this assignment. Like once the season started, I had to pick up all the players. But like the players came from like literally all over the place. They were like, one came to Trenton, New Jersey, one came in Atlantic City, one came in Philly, one came from a bus station. And I had my car, which is like it was the most beat up hoopty ever. And I was driving around picking all these people up, and they were trying to stop, and they were trying to buy rolling paper, and they were trying to buy weed, and they wanted a food shop. And I was like, listen, I'm not beat for this. I can't do this the whole time. But it was really cool though. I mean, just to see they won a couple championships, and being like a big Philly sports fan, to see a championship in the city, obviously before the Eagles won or the Phillies won, was pretty cool. So that was
man. Yeah, that's a journey though, man. That's a journey for
sure. Yeah, definitely. Now, what age did you realize that, what age? Take me back to the time when you were like, okay, I'm gonna start to really focus on helping others, doing things with inner city kids, training athletes and such.
I would say, like I said, 2015, I was 25, man, and just got done, playing ball. And I was like, all I've ever known is sports.
Yeah.
So I went to school for communications. It was just the typical athlete thing, to do. But I learned throughout, life is the best teacher. That allowed me to hone in and really understand. Okay, I've really been helping kids since I was young. Like I used to help my brother's Pop Warner team, at practices. When I was in college and I come back home, I'd help out with like a local flag football team or a basketball team. I've always been able to just give back in my community. I've always just wanted to do that. And when I stopped playing ball, it was like, all right, what do I do from here?
Right.
Let me start a nonprofit and really dive in deeper and see what their needs are and see what it is that they really, both want and need, at the same time. And that's really where it started.
Now walk me through that process for setting up a nonprofit.
Oh man.
Because I know it's probably hectic.
Man, it's like, first and foremost, the first 2 years, it was like, all right, mission statement, vision statement, board of directors, like it was 501c3 paperwork through the state and federal. It's like all these things that you need, plus an accountant, plus like it's so many things that you need to start it. Like, when you start a business that's, a LLC or any other type of business, it's like, all right, you don't really need a board of directors. You don't really need, accounting. Yeah, you can do it on your own, but like the nonprofit route, it's so particular, man. You have to like, every single dollar has to be accounted for, because if somebody's donating X amount, and that X amount doesn't go to what it's for, then I'm going to get audited, So the nonprofit route is really, really strict, but it took us about 2.5 years to get really set up. Last year, we finally got our federal exemption as a 501c3. So I'd say, like 5 years to really get it really truly going. But it was a lot of ups and downs, man. A lot of it, because the nonprofit world is totally different. It's totally different business, man.
Now I'm curious, what made you go that route though?
I had a friend of mine, a mentor, that he was also training athletes, and he said that he basically realized that a lot of the kids in our community, they can't really afford it, So the issue was, okay, do we target the kids outside of our community, let them train and get better, but then what about the kids in our community? Do we just like let them just fail, So
Right.
I was like, all right. He told me somebody really needs to create a nonprofit so that we can collaborate with other gyms and schools and corporations and stuff like that, to where we can give the resources to the kids and be able to help them out, whether they have the money or not, because the nonprofit realm is like, okay, it doesn't necessarily mean we can't make money. It doesn't necessarily mean the kid comes to my program and it's free. It's more so like, for example, I have a program that costs $500 a month. If you can afford it, it is $500 a month. If you can't afford it, we go through the nonprofit. And now you're able to fundraise for that $500 a month. So we give you all the materials, everything that you need for that child to be able to go and fundraise to be able to train. So basically, we're saying no kid is left behind.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Nice. And then for the nonprofit, what do you guys focus on? Is it specifically just sports, or do you guys focus on education as well?
So the full spectrum. So the nonprofit is really more so geared to helping underprivileged youth. And the youth is more so the student athletes. So we want to help student athletes, and we want to give them all of the resources they need in order to get to that next level, whether it's professional, college, or simply just getting to college on an academic scholarship,
Right.
Sometimes, like I use the example of Chance the Rapper. Like in an interview, he was basically saying that when he was in high school, there was a nonprofit that was out of the church that he could go to. And that nonprofit basically was a program. The program allowed him to hone in on all his skills. They gave him all the engineering tools he needed. They gave him everything he needed, all the seminars he needed to go to, all the networking. So basically, that's the route we're trying to take. We want to give student athletes every tool possible in order to get to their goals. You know what I mean? Whether it's college, whether it's pros, like I said, it's just really being able to give them all we can give them, and not really have any limitations. And that's where the nonprofit comes in hand, because I can say, let's say I have a teammate of mine that's in the NFL now, and he wants to donate, $1 million to sponsor a couple kids. That the nonprofit tag allows him to give me $1 million now to write off for him, and now I'm able to sponsor X amount of kids. You know what I mean? So there's so many things about the nonprofit that made sense as far as helping underprivileged youth.
Right. Now I deal with just like every day with the Digilog, I deal with a lot of people who are very creative, but they are very focused on helping their community, specifically in like New York City and Brooklyn and Harlem, deal with people in Detroit as well, people in Atlanta, Charlotte. what would you say to some people who are creatives and want to get involved with their community and maybe set up a nonprofit as well? Do you have like a tip for them?
Make sure you have a team. That's the biggest thing. Like, make sure you have a board of directors that is in love with your vision, and they will, because the board of directors, really, they're the ones that fund everything. They're the ones that say, hey, I have a friend that's such and such, and he's willing to donate. So the board of directors is a setup of people that really are, influencers, people that have money, people that can do something in the, community and stuff. Outside of just saying, I train athletes, they're the ones that are funding the athletes, are funding the programs. So I would say, man, really just create a team that is strong. Everything from, like I said, the board of directors to, people that are going to market, people that are going to help you with accounting, because that's huge, man. The accounting and like the nonprofit law, that's huge, man. So, you got to make sure you got a really strong team on your side.
Right. Now, how a lot of people have like a really hard time finding the right team members, or they're picking the wrong team members because they're going with friends or acquaintances that they don't really know that well. So what would you just say to someone who's looking to basically vet out the right business partner?
Oh man, honestly, I couldn't even tell you exactly what to do on that end, man. I just think it's more so just surround yourself with like-minded people, man.
Right.
And if I have a like-minded friend and it's a trustworthy thing, I would say for me personally, it's just like a loyalty and trust thing, and I don't really do business with too many people, but I just think it's one of those things you got to feel out. You got to fill out that business partner. You got to, make sure it feels right, because, business is, it's a big, how do I say this, man? It's not like black and white. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's more to it. It's more to it, man. And especially when we're talking nonprofit, like that's it's rough.
Really quickly, tell me the name of your nonprofit for people who want to search it.
No Handouts Incorporated.
No Handouts Incorporated, and we'll put the link in the bio also, so that people can click on the link and hopefully get acquainted with you with that as well.
Man, for sure.
And you're a man of many trades because you also have District Sports Performance right there in Glendale. That's another thing where I was like, yo, I used to probably walk past this place all the time. I used to live in Burbank, and I used to like work in Glendale all the time, and I probably, passed it a whole bunch of times. Tell me your experience with setting up your own business and the nonprofit aspect in partnering with business.
Man, that was the process was actually pretty. I enjoyed the process, man, because I made great friends on the way. So, long story short, a friend of mine connected me with one of his closest friends and fraternity brothers. And I met him in literally like the first day. It was like instant connection. Like we started talking about, because he played professional sports too. So we started talking about our journeys and our visions and what we want to do to help the kids. So that, to take it back to like the whole business partner thing, like that was just built on its own, just energy. But now creating the District Sports Performance. So now my partner, AJ, him and his brother started the business as just like a gym. It was just a facility to come work out. When I came on board, which was 2 months after they opened, basically I told them, like, listen, man, I want to help the community. I have the nonprofit. Let's use it. This is what we're doing. And so that started a whole 3-year plan that we did. And, we helped out so many kids. We started, club teams, and we did training for the kids. A lot of the times it was like free for them. So as far as setting up the business, it was something that really, man, for us, it was like, all right, we need to know what our purpose is, because when we opened, or when they opened, it was just like, okay, I want a gym, and this is what I want to do. But, when we think about business, we think about, we got to pay bills. You got, you got overhead, you got so many things. So it's like, all right, how do we realistically do this? So now when we, fast forward to 2016 and we're looking for a new facility because our lease was up. Now it was like, okay, Chris, you've been with us for 3 years, showing us love and supporting us. Do you want to be, an owner of it? Do you want some shares? And, that was easy because, at that point we'd already built such a great relationship. And so, our visions aligned, our goals aligned. So, and, we're family oriented. So everything just made sense, so when we opened up the facility, now we're in a place to where it's like, okay, what is our goal? And I think that's really right now where we're at. It's like, okay, what is our objective? What is our mission? And, how are we going to get there? So, the process as far as starting a business, man, the hardest part was really like trying to transform something that started as, you know, okay, just a gym. And then now we're like, okay, now we want to work with like youth and pro athletes, you know? So it's like taking business, man. I would say this, man, my experience with it, you know, all in all is just like, man, you got to have the strategy mapped out way before you do anything, man. Cause you know, where we're at now, it's like, you know, rebranding and doing certain things. That's all stuff that's like, I think, you know, you can save yourself that headache if you do it the right way.
And now with, obviously you can plan and plan and plan as much as you want, but nobody's ready for a coronavirus, right? I don't know if you were. I definitely wasn't.
Man.
So how have you guys been able to adjust with this whole quarantine?
I think honestly, the quarantine has been great for us because, like I said, it's allowed us to really sit back and meet a lot and say, okay, where do we want to go from here? Because to this day, like, we know what we want to do and we know how, like, how do I say this? We know what we want to do, but we don't know how we're going to get there yet. So I think this coronavirus was great for us in particular because we didn't have to sit here and adapt and try to do online training or any stuff like that. We had to sit here and say, okay, look, man, we're thinking about the future and how we're going to really help these kids, but at the same time, help our business. Now, as far as the business terms go, you know, man, quarantine, we're talking about like applying for, you know, SBA loans and, you know, all, you know how that process goes. So, man, it hit us, you know, it hit us hard for sure. It hit us hard for sure. But I mean, we're adapting and we're just, you know, pushing forward, man. Also starting up, you know, YouTube workouts and stuff, just, you know, trying to adapt with it, man.
Right. Is it changing? Do you think it'll change the way that you approach business moving forward? Will you be prepared for something like this? Should it happen, God forbid, again?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now you're in the process of, you know, handling that gym's brand, but you're also in the process of handling your own brand, right? And that's where we met with your personal branding. So give me a little like breakdown of your process of realizing, you know what, I really should be approaching, you know, business with my own personal brand. I should really polish it. I should really have like a strong message and a core value that I'm like portraying to people online. Give me like a little bit of the breakdown of your thinking with
that. Honestly, I needed to do it simply based off of looking at an overview of what I've done. Like, okay, we have the nonprofit, we have the gym, and then I train. So it's like, okay, when somebody that doesn't really know me and they ask me, hey, what do you do? It's like, all right, well, I have this, that, and that. It's like, okay, but what do you do? You know, so I needed to separate myself and say, okay, I'm a man of many trades, but this is what I do. You know, this is who I am. So, and I think, like I said, you know, in the beginning, taking it back to 2015, when I stopped playing ball, it was like, okay, I know I want to help people. This is what I want to do to help them. But then fast forward to now, it's like, okay, how am I going to help myself? You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to help myself, you know, because as an entrepreneur, it's like, dude, you got to make sure we set up savings and, you know, we got to make sure, you know, I got kids. So for me, it's like, I got to make sure I provide, and, you know, so I just think, you know, as far as building my personal brand, I just want to make sure I separate myself from my other works, you know, meaning the nonprofit and the gym. Like, I want to be able to, I think we had a conversation about it. I want to be able to be the reason why people are going to the gym, or be the reason why people know about the nonprofit, as opposed to, hey, Chris is at the gym, you know what I mean? Or, hey, there's a nonprofiting. Oh, Chris runs it. You know, it's like, I want to be able to be the advocate for both.
And it's beneficial to you because you're bringing leads into your gym as well through all of your own personal branding. And a lot of people have a hard time with this question, right? How are you able to answer now that question of what do you do? It's the hardest question for anybody to ask. Whenever I go out networking, and I told you, we had a conversation earlier. I told you, when I first started doing this, when people ask me, what do I do? It's like, I don't know. What don't I do? Honestly. I mean, if you want to do that, I can do that too. Honestly, I can learn how to do it. Right. So how do you answer that question?
Honestly, man, at this point, it's like, what do I love? That's what I tell myself. Like, what do I love? And yeah, I like to help people, but in reality, man, I've loved sports since I was a kid. That's all I've ever known. So why not, you know, after my playing days, give that back, and now give the kid or the college athlete trying to get to the pros, or the high school kids trying to get to college. Now, why can't I give them the free game? So now when I tell people, it's like, hey, what do you do? Hey, I can get your kid bigger, faster, stronger, and get them ready for college. You know what I mean? Or I can get you bigger, faster, stronger, and get you ready for the league. You know, so that's really, you know, my purpose now. And I just feel like, you know, I have a lot to really share with people. So as far as, you know, serious athletes go, because, you know, there's, you know, I feel like there's a is a difference in the athlete that just wants to be on the team for the jersey and just wants to be on the team for memories, which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's great. But then you have a whole other side of kids and, adults in college that their goal is to really go pro. Like, I'm trying to get paid. Like, you know what I mean? So we wanted to be able to mesh the classroom, like the seriousness that parents really find in that classroom. Like, I need my son to be a straight A student so he can go to Yale or Ivy League, but at the same time, mesh that with, I want my kid to get a scholarship. So now, we found the best of both worlds. And now I'm able to say, hey, I can help your kid. I can market him. I could train him. I can give him the tools he needs through my nonprofit, to be able to help him get to where he needs to be.
Right. Now, there's a kid right now in Los Angeles, right? Los Angeles, the greater Los Angeles area who is talented, right? He's talented in whether it's football or it's MMA or it's baseball, whether maybe it's a girl with softball. What are you telling this kid right now who's not using the service? What are they doing, right? Like right now, sports-wise or academic-wise, and what's your benefit for them?
Honestly, it's me. At the end of the day, I feel like it's me. I'm gonna give a great here to answer the question. I had a kid that's recently, he came to me in October last year. He was training with another performance coach who I actually thought was a great guy. I love his content. And he was with him for 6 months and didn't get what his dad, the kid's dad asked for a specific goal, and he didn't get there in 6 months. So he came to me, and in 4 months, I got him to that goal. So basically, this guy was driving an hour every day, 4 days a week to come see me. So my thing is, like, I'm the value. I have something, like I told you from the beginning, like, what are you doing? To answer your question, hey, fighter, you're about to go to the MMA and you've been training here. Well, I've also realized that, your last fight, you lacked in this. I can help you there. You know what I'm saying? Or the football player, hey, you got 12 offers, but you're still dropping balls, you know what I mean? Or you're still, you know what I'm saying? I could see you're off balance here and there, so those are things that I can tell them from a perspective of, hey, I've played at that level. Like, I went to college. So like, I know you'll need your core, you know what I mean? You're going to need your core, you know what I mean? You're going to need to be flexible. So these are things that I tell the kids, and I'm a real blunt person. So, if I go up to a kid that's superstar, I'm like, hey man, come train with me, bro.
No, but that's how you got to do it. You can't be scared. Yeah, you can't be afraid of taking opportunity, or even just approaching somebody and saying, "Hey, listen, look, this is where I can bring you some value. I see that you're doing this. I see you're doing that. That's amazing. I'm inspired by it. But I feel like if you do this, this, and this, you'll take your brand way higher. You'll go way farther. You'll get way more offers, and so on and so forth. Now, dealing obviously with training, athletes, and even more specifically like young athletes, you got to sell the parent too. So what would you say to the parent who has a kid at home who is interested in sports, but maybe the parent doesn't really see the value in sports?
Okay. The way I approach the parent is, what do you get from school? We all know what you get from school is the education, the networking, all that stuff, right? Why don't we look at sports? You look at what sports does. You learn how to, fight adversity. You learn how to be goal-oriented. You learn how to network at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Because, I still have teammates that I know from Florida, Texas, New York, and that was all from college, networking. So, man, it's so many valuable things that you get from playing sports, man, that your child will learn. Let's say you have the child that's playing video games, and he's overweight. There you go. Fix your problem. Let's say you have the child that isn't confident, but they have straight A's. Now you're on the team. Everybody's making you feel confident. He or she may be great at that sport. There you go, more confidence. That person is having racial identity problems or just problems getting friends in general. Now they join a team. We're all family on the team. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things to where it's building a confidence, is building, how to overcome adversity. It's sports, man. It's huge, man. And statistically, do you know that there is basically 75% of kids in America play sports between the ages of 7 and 15? That's a high percentage.
It was that high.
75%. So 1 out of 3 kids in every household play sports.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's ridiculous. And I think it's just, I feel like it should be more, because I feel like essentially, whether you're athletic or not, man, at the end of the day, what kids learn from that 7 to 15-year-old range. And if you're playing sports or doing any extracurricular at that time, I just feel like, man, it's huge for a kid. Like, I have an 11-year-old, man, she's been running track since she was 5, so my thing is like, the with things that you're instilling through sports, man. It's just amazing, man.
Definitely. And even if you want to get into business, sports will definitely get your mindset right for getting into business, because
man, yeah.
Either way, it's gonna be, because you have to be very thick-skinned and you have to have a strong mindset in order to do any of it, which is pretty good. All right, Chris, man, I appreciate you taking the time. Where can we follow you at?
You can follow me at Chris Aguado _. So it's just regular, Chris, CHRIS, last name AGUADO and _.
All right. And one more time, remind them about the businesses that they can check out.
Yes, sir. Check out the District Sports Performance at District SP. And then we have No Handouts at NHO Nation.
Awesome. Appreciate you taking the time, man. And keep up the great work. You're doing an awesome job, especially in the community. I have a soft spot for in the community. Anytime that I see somebody working with, kids in the city and whatnot, I think that's amazing. That's one of the greater purposes on earth, in my opinion, is to teach the youth and give back and everything. And it's such a rewarding feeling also. So it's great that you're doing that.
For sure. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you for having me, man, for sure.
Of course. That's episode 5 right there, Cultural Connect Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Nales, Chris Aguado. I'll check you guys next time on episode 6.